Welcome to the BK Lounge. It's a Longhorn late night edition of the BK Lounge here on YouTube Live. Different location for tonight's episode. I'm actually dog sitting for my sister, my brother-in-law, and so I'm not in my bathroom at my apartment. I'm in her house and a little bit nicer here. Got a little bit more space, not as well lit, but we're rolling. We're rocking and rolling regardless. So appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope everyone's having a good Thursday night. It is a monsoon in Austin, Texas right now. My goodness, I was just driving around in that for about an hour. It sucks out there. So hopefully you don't have to leave your house, but if you do, stay safe. Be smart out there. It is pouring here in Austin, Texas, and I think it's supposed to rain all night. So not great there, but I guess we need the rain, and the weather's supposed to cool down, which is good. You know, fall is finally here, which is a good thing. Shout out to Alex. What's up, BK? How's life? Life is good. Former intern at the Horn. Good dude as well. Things are good for me, Alex. Hopefully the same holds true for you. CB, of course, tuning in. What's up, CB? Hope everything is okay with you and your family as well. So if you're looking at the title of this video, the number one thing we're going to talk about, and we're going to open up with this, is Texas falling apart, which seems to be a crazy question to ask considering the Longhorns are the 15th ranked team in the country, and Texas is 5-2, and the two losses came by a combined 14 points against two of the top five teams in college football, like two legit national title contenders, and the Longhorns still control their own destiny to win the conference championship here in 2019. So you look at the title, and if you're not familiar with some of the insider reports about what's been happening this week in Austin, you're probably thinking, all right, what is this guy, Skip Bayless? What is this, Stephen A. Smith? This is a total joke. Texas is fine. They'll be all right. Well, the reports from the 40 Acres this week have not been good. Coming off of the 50-48 win, it was a win, didn't really feel like one, but the win over Kansas last weekend, and there have been multiple reports, some things that have been published, some things that I've just heard behind the scenes that are not sounding good for this Texas team right now. I've even heard one quote, damage control, to describe what this Texas coaching staff is having to do with the Texas players right now, which, once again, crazy to think about considering this team is 5-2. They're in the top 15 in the country. They've got a shot to win the conference, but apparently tensions are mounting. Tensions are rising, perhaps a better way to say it, in the locker room at UT. A report from a couple of days ago from the Football Brainiacs kind of started this whole thing. They reported that a Texas player, an offensive starter on this Texas football team, had missed a day of practice, had skipped the day of practice, and did not tell the coaches that that was going to happen. And we found out a day later that report was verified by a couple of different insider sites, and we found out that was Brandon Eagles, one of the starting wide receivers for the Longhorns. Tom Herman said today at his Thursday night availability that Brandon Eagles missed a practice for personal reasons, but he showed up yesterday, and he showed up today, and everything's good to go. So there were reports that said the status is unclear for Brandon Eagles, which led people to believe that, okay, maybe Eagles is going to be suspended for a quarter, for a half, maybe a drive for this game against TCU coming up on Saturday because he missed a practice. But according to Tom Herman, that's not going to happen. At least that's what he's telling the media. So that was the initial report about Brandon Eagles. First he skipped a practice, and then he might get disciplined for this game on Saturday. But Tom Herman in front of local media tonight said it's all good. It was personal reasons why Eagles missed the practice on Tuesday. He's been back Wednesday and Thursday. What's up, doggy? Tom Herman was also asked a couple of other questions at his availability tonight. He talked about how this was another physical week for the Texas Longhorns, and we'll see if that actually translates to the field on Saturday against TCU. We heard the reports that last week Texas practice was extremely physical after the Oklahoma game, and the defense still looked terrible. They looked even worse against Kansas. So the physicality at practice did not pay off for the Longhorns last week. We'll see if that changes this week. So we've got the Brandon Eagles report right there. Another insider, and I've talked to a couple, have told me that there was another Texas player that skipped practice this week. That I don't know if this is being reported by anybody right now, but somebody besides Brendan Eagles reportedly skipped practice. There was another player on this Texas football team that I heard threatened to skip practice as well. So not Brendan Eagles, not this other player who actually did miss a practice, but somebody else apparently threatened to miss a practice. And I also heard that a different player altogether, so 4 different players, somebody else cussed out one of the coaches during practice this week. I hate doing what I'm doing right now. I hate spewing things that I don't know are true. I don't ever want to be one of those investigative reporters. I take pride in being a media member who just doesn't spew BS and tries to give it to you straight. So I'm not verifying these, but these are just things that I'm hearing behind the scenes from guys who know a little bit more and are more in tune with what's happening in the locker room than I am right now. That is not good. That is not good, and it's crazy considering that this team still has just about every goal in front of them for the rest of the 2019 season. So, and I think the bigger concern, the players that I'm hearing, Brendan Eagles and then some of the other players who miss practice, these are offensive players. Like, it seems like there's more unrest with the offense right now than there is with the defense, and the offense is playing pretty well. I mean, Texas has the 9th-ranked scoring offense in the country. And the offense is coming off a 50-point performance. Yeah, they didn't play well against Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago, but for the most part, in every other game this year, the Texas offense has delivered. Sam Ehlinger's having a hell of a year, setting school records. He's doing things we haven't seen since Colt McCoy and Vince Young were here. Devin Duvernay is emerging as one of the best wide receivers in the country. The offensive line has struggled a little bit the last 2 weeks, but for the most part, they've been pretty good this year. Colin Johnson's a beast. Roshan. The offense has been fine. So the fact that we're hearing that there may be some unrest on that side of the football, that is a little bit concerning to me. Now, you don't want unrest anywhere, but if defensive players were a little bit upset with what's happening, I would understand because the defense has been terrible this year. So I would get that, but a little bit disappointing when I'm hearing things like this Texas coaching staff is in damage control right now to the players in this locker room. That is mind-boggling. And it really freaks me out for this Saturday's game against TCU. Texas is only a 1.5 favorite against the Horned Frogs. TCU actually opened up as the favorite in this game. Some places had the Horned Frogs as 2.5-point favorites. I was seeing 1.5 in other spots. But now Texas is favored. But man, I don't know what to think of this Longhorn team. Like, Texas has eons more talent than TCU does. This is a game, just talent on talent, that Texas should win, even with the injuries on defense for the Longhorns. This is a game that Texas should win, even though it's on the road. But I don't know what the mental state of this football team is right now. I really do not know if everybody is rowing the boat, a little PJ Fleck there, rowing the boat in the same direction. It almost feels like this Texas team is just out of sorts right now, which is a problem. Once again, 5 weeks left in the season. This team controls its own destiny to get to the Big 12 title game. If they lose on Saturday, hell, if they lose any of these games, they no longer control their own destiny to get to Jerry World on December 7th. So I don't want to sit here and tell you this Texas team is falling apart because maybe they go out there on Saturday and beat TCU by a couple of scores, and then they have their second bye week, and then we're rolling into the final third of the season. But concerning reports, some published, some not so published, regarding this Texas football team, some disarray in the locker room right now, coming off the 50-48 win over Kansas. And oh, by the way, we haven't even talked about recruiting yet. Texas lost a commitment a couple of days ago from 4-star defensive lineman Princely U. I'm going to butcher his last name, so we'll just call him Princely U. No disrespect to the kid. But he decommitted a couple of days ago, which, well, that's a defensive player. That's a defensive lineman. The Longhorns really need to stockpile some of those moving forward. He decommitted, and there's reports, I saw this one from Horns 24/7, that another defensive commit for the class of 2020, a cornerback by the name of Joshua Eaton out of the Houston area, he is, according to reports, considering decommitting and flipping to Oklahoma. I've already seen some crystal ball projections on 24/7 Sports flipping Joshua Eaton from Texas to Oklahoma. Still technically committed to UT, but doesn't sound great for Joshua Eaton right now. So you never want to lose commitments, needless to say. But, man, the fact that you're losing them, you've already lost one and you're potentially losing another one on defense, considering what the defenses look like this year, that is not good for this Texas football program. So, man, there's some issues going on with this Texas football team. It couldn't come at a worse time right now. And what's going on with the 2019 team, I don't know if that's what's affecting the recruits for the future, for 2020 and beyond, but it all seems to be falling apart at the same time right now. Let's check out some of your comments. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We are on YouTube Live. Not great in the Texas locker room, it would seem. Yeah, absolutely. Orlando couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag. This is a big game for Todd Orlando on Saturday. And there's a lot of folks around here who think T.O. is coaching for his job over the last 5 weeks of the regular season here in 2019. Tom Herman wants to keep the same coaching staff. He likes the stability. He likes the continuity. He doesn't want to make changes if he doesn't have to. But, man, this Texas defense is on pace to be the worst in school history. They're giving up 510 yards per game in Big 12 play this year, with some really good Big 12 teams still left up ahead on the schedule. He's got to find a way to turn it around. Texas leads the country in missed tackles, leads the country in fourth quarter points per game allowed. We talked about that in Monday's video. If you want more of a rundown about the defense and how historically bad this defense has been, check that video out on my channel. But big one for Todd Orlando. Look, TCU, I've got some numbers here for the Horned Frogs. TCU is a very one-dimensional offense. Simple as that. They're not a great offense, 6th in the Big 12 in scoring, 7th in the Big 12 in total offense, but they do run the ball incredibly well. Now, they are 3rd in the Big 12 in rushing, but they're also 12th in the country out of 130 teams in rushing the football. Just Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are running the ball at will this year. But TCU, 12th in the country, rushing for 239.5 yards per game. Excuse me. TCU's pass offense ranks 9th in the Big 12 and bottom half of college football. They've got a true freshman at quarterback in Max Duggan. He's a dual threat, which that's given Todd Orlando defenses problems in the past, but he's not a great thrower of the football, completing 56% of his passes, and that's the biggest gripe with this TCU offense, right? They've got playmakers on the outside, especially Jalen Reagor, one of the best wide receivers in this conference in the country, and they don't really have a guy right now who can get them the football. Max Duggan, I'll give him this, 9 touchdowns through the air, 0 interceptions in 2019. So he has protected the football. He doesn't make a whole lot of bad decisions as a true, excuse me. Whew, coming off a cold. If you watched Monday's video, I had a cough attack during this. So anyways, Max Duggan for a true freshman, not making a whole lot of bad decisions, which is a good thing for the TCU offense. But the strength of TCU is their defense, no doubt. But anyways, for Todd Orlando, I'm losing myself here. For Todd Orlando, this is a one-dimensional offense you're going up against. And Todd Orlando, he always puts an emphasis on stopping the run. That's what he wants to do, first and foremost, regardless of opponent. So we will see if Texas can do a little bit better job against the TCU ground game than what they did against Kansas when Puka Williams went for nearly 200, when Carter Stanley looked like Quincy Carter out there. This is a test for Todd Orlando because this isn't one of the best offenses in the Big 12. I gave you the stats, but they can run the football. And what Gary Patterson and TCU, they want to keep the Texas offense off the field. They don't want this game to become a shootout. Most Big 12 teams are comfortable with a shootout. TCU, not one of those teams. Their game plan is going to be to run the football, win the time of possession battle, and keep Sam Ehlinger and the Longhorn offense on the sidelines. So it's going to be up to Todd Orlando and this defense to do a better job than they have done recently at stopping the run. All right, so a couple of other thoughts here. Let's go to the TCU defense as we kind of go game preview here. We'll keep this video relatively short. I want to watch the fourth quarter of this Rockets-Bucks game. The Stars are playing. Thursday Night Football kind of sucks, but whatever. Y'all have stuff to do, too. TCU's defense is awesome. It's awesome. And they don't have a whole lot of household names. Gary Patterson doesn't get 4- and 5-star recruits like Texas does, but he develops his players on that side of the ball at an unbelievable level. and TCU's got some dudes this year. Ross Blacklock, number 90, the defensive tackle. He's a big boy. You can't miss him. He's a stud. One of the best defensive players in this conference. A future high-round draft pick in the NFL, in my opinion. He's really, really good. Ennis Gaines is a safety. Really talented, wears number 6. 4 of the 5 TCU starting defensive backs are seniors. So they've got some experience in the back end. And, oh my God, I'm blanking on the linebacker's name. It'll come to me at some point in this video. They've got a linebacker who's got 64 tackles, and number 2 on TCU has like 30 tackles. Like they've got one. Garrett Wallow is his name. That guy's going to be all over the field. You're going to get tired of hearing that dude's name on Saturday. So not a whole lot of highly touted recruits on TCU, but once again, Gary Patterson, like he always does, he has these guys playing really, really well. Number 1 in total defense in the Big 12. They're 11th in the country in total defense. They are fifth in the Big 12 in scoring defense, so they have given up some points, but a lot of that has to do with the offensive struggles that TCU has had this year. But TCU, first in the Big 12 in rush defense, second in the Big 12 in passing defense, but they are top 20 in college football in both of those categories. 18th in the country, second in the Big 12 in third down defense too. So they're stout. They're disciplined. They do not create a lot of turnovers. They only have 5 takeaways this year in 6 games. They're actually negative in the turnover margin. But, man, they're just smart. It's like the opposite of this Texas defense, right? Texas has created some turnovers. They've got twice as many interceptions as TCU has takeaways this year. But the discipline, they don't really miss tackles. They know where they're supposed to be on TCU, unlike this Texas defense. Man, Texas can't lose to TCU, right? Considering the uniforms that TCU is wearing this weekend, those things are hideous. That's like if TCU and Texas Tech uniforms had a kid, that is what the end result would be. So, TCU's defense is legit. This is strength on Saturday. This is mano a mano. It's the Texas offense, which is one of the best in college football, against the TCU defense, which, once again, this shouldn't really surprise anybody, is one of the best in the conference and one of the better defenses in the Big 12. But, it's going to be important, obviously, for the Texas defense to get some stops on Saturday, because I think Texas is going to get some points. I don't think they're going to put up 50 like they did against Kansas. There's going to be some struggles, some struggling moments, maybe an extended period of tough times for this Texas offense. They are going to need some more help from this defense than what they got last weekend against Kansas. But should be a fun one. Once again, it's a 1.5-point line. Anybody's ball game according to Vegas. Last year, Texas got the better of TCU with a big second half, but before that, Gary Patterson has kind of had the Longhorns' number since joining the Big 12. This is their biggest game of the year, man. I mean, TCU does not like Texas. Gary Patterson, he's made it clear he does not like Texas. He's going to pull out all the stops to try to win this game on Saturday at home. A couple of injury notes for the Longhorns from Tom Herman tonight. We'll talk about this all day on the Horn tomorrow, of course, but for those of you tuned in tonight, as my phone just disappears, DeMarvion Overshone, game time decision for Saturday. BJ Foster, also game time decision for Saturday. So those are 2 defensive starters right there. Tom Herman said on Monday they'd be limited in practice this week. That has apparently been the case. Still no answer. Still no verdict on whether or not Overshone or Foster is going to be good to go on Saturday. If neither of them can play, Tom Herman said it would be Tyler Owens and Montrell Estelle who would be stepping into the starting lineup. The injuries on this defense, especially in the back end, continue to rise. And, man, B.J. Foster's been playing hurt. He was really bad this past Saturday. It was obvious that he was hurt. I almost just want Texas to sit him for his sake, but also maybe the defense is better off without him playing at 70% or 60%, whatever he has been for the last couple of weeks. Let him rest this Saturday. You got the bye week next Saturday. Hopefully BJ can be close to 90 to 100% for that game against K-State after the bye week. But you might have both of those guys out in addition to Caden Stearns, in addition to Josh Thompson, in addition to, was that everybody in the secondary? Interesting. I'm forgetting somebody. Someone will help me out in the comments. But the good news on the injury front, it's not all bad news, believe it or not. Texas might be losing commitments. They might have some guys skipping practice. They might have some issues in the locker room, but at least Jalen Green is coming back on Saturday. He's practiced all week. He is good to go against the Horned Frogs, the number one cornerback for this Texas team, likely matching up with Jalen Reagor on Saturday. Good to have number 3 back on this defense, no question about it. This secondary needs all the help that it can get right now. So Texas TCU coming up Saturday at 2:30. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything. What am I forgetting? I think I've accomplished just about everything I want to accomplish in this video. Once again, I said it earlier. I gave you the reports. Some disarray in the Texas locker room. Everybody knows about Brendan Eagles to this point. I've heard behind the scenes that Eagles was not the only player to miss practice, or at least threaten to miss practice. I've heard stories of players cussing coaches out this week. Damage control. I'm worried this coaching staff is in damage control right now, which is not where they need to be coming down the home stretch in Big 12 conference play with a very tough, near rivalry game this Saturday against a disciplined TCU team that's going to take advantage if you don't have your puppies in order, to quote the great Bill Raftery. So there's that. I think that's everything. I'll check the comments one more time. Y'all let me know if I'm missing anything. Appreciate all of y'all tuning in. Always appreciate the comments. Many thanks. Let's see. Todd Orlando should go to the wristband if his defense is complicated. Yeah, it's complicating to me. It's complicating to everybody. You ask former players. No one really knows what Texas is trying to do on defense right now. They've had 7 games. They've had 7 different base defenses. There's nothing the Longhorns can really fall back on the defensive side of the football. Like, we haven't seen anything that they're really good at. It's not like, the secondary sucks, but at least they could stop the run. Or, at least they can pressure the opposing quarterback. Or at least they tackle well. There's nothing. There's nothing you can point to right now as a positive for this Texas defense. Now, can that change? Sure, absolutely. Todd Orlando's paid $1.7 million to figure out the ways to change that. And once again, he might be coaching for his job over the last month and a half of this season. Let's see. Not sure we should keep our defensive ends at the 4-eye going forward. No edge containment. We're getting exposed because of it. Yeah, this defensive line has been bad this year. And that's the one part of the defense that hasn't dealt with injuries. But I don't think they're being used right. And, God, I'd love to see a 4-down line this Saturday against TCU, especially against a team that loves to run the football. I don't know if we're going to see that. Todd Orlando has never done that, at least at Texas. We'll see. But you're right. I mean, guys are not setting the edge. They are losing contain against the run and against the pass, and it's causing all sorts of problems for this Longhorn defense. Good point right there, Bruce Wayne. Nice. Good name. Let's see. TCU's 5-2 against Texas since joining the Big 12. Yep, absolutely. Once again, Gary Patterson, he has had the Longhorns' number. Texas got the better of the two teams last year, but TCU was really, really bad last year, and that game was in Austin. I still think Texas has more talent than TCU does this year, but Vegas would tell you it's anybody's ball game on Saturday. The game's in Fort Worth this time around as well. So is Chris Ash still assisting with the D? I actually don't know the answer to that question. The former Rutgers head coach was here last week. So before Oklahoma, before Kansas, didn't work. Whatever. I don't know why you're bringing in guys from Rutgers to try to help you out. Brought in David Beatty before the Big 12 championship game. You're going to bring in a guy from Kansas who sucked as a head coach, and you're going to bring in a guy from Rutgers. Maybe too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm all for getting help, but do you want to go to Kansas and Rutgers to try to learn how to win you important football games? Those are the last two teams I would probably pick in Power 5. So, all right, I think that's going to do it for this video tonight, guys. Appreciate the love, appreciate the support as always. Texas TCU 2:30 on Saturday. Should be a fun one, man. I'm excited for this. I don't even know what to expect. No, that's kind of my job, is to tell you guys what to expect. But, man, I don't know where this program is at mentally. I think Texas is going to win this football game. I know they should win this football game. But they better be ready to go on Saturday. And you need a little bit more from your defense, because the TCU defense is going to get some stops, at least more stops than what Kansas was able to do last weekend. I'm going to pick Texas to win this football game. 34-30. Let's go 34-30 Longhorns on Saturday afternoon, the win over TCU. But probably won't do a video tomorrow. I'll do another one of these right after the game on Saturday to give the initial thoughts. Tune into the show. I need to stop because I'm about to lose my mind. I'm about to start coughing all over the place. Tune into the show midday with Trey and BK, 11 to 1 tomorrow. HornFM.com and the Horn app. Always appreciate the love. Please like, share, subscribe to this channel. Tell your friends all sorts of Texas football, and then we'll talk Texas basketball and Texas baseball as the year progresses. But thanks so much for the time, guys. Always appreciate the love, and until next time.